There's about 20 of us standing there shivering like dogs. And so I've been up there since, so I know the facility.
Well, that wasn't you that Heidi went to see, was it? You're not that cranky.
What's that?
I said that wasn't you.
You have
Heidi
to say that
went to
again?
see.
No. I don't know. Actually, I think Heidi lived in St. Gallen, which is in northeast central Switzerland. The story about her, and but I lived up that way. In fact, I was engaged to a girl from St. Gallen, and she didn't want to come back to the United States, so that was the end of that, and I've never seen her since. But I know a great deal about Switzerland. It's a lovely country, very expensive, and I enjoyed my years there, as I did in Germany and Portugal and Spain, Italy, England, Copenhagen, Sweden, you name it, I've lived there.
Well, you've gotten a chance to see some real beauty then.
Well, it's the people as well. It's more the people than anything else, and people are the same everywhere.
How's their economy over there in Switzerland?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. They're very insular. They're very adaptable. And I think their banking industry's got problems because in the 1840s, after the Civil War, the Illuminists decided that Switzerland was going to be the place where they held a lot of their money so that nobody would bother them. And that's how the secrecy grew up, and they have evidently decided that they don't need that anymore. And so from a financial investment viewpoint, I see Switzerland slipping away, and their costs of doing business are very, very expensive. And they always have been, but they're even worse now. And some of them bring back good returns, but I don't know that it's all worth it.
Well, how soon do you think silver is going to be hitting 50 over here? I mean, it hovered in the low 30s for so long, and then the 20s for so long, and all of a sudden it hit 30, and it was like within a week or two it was already at 40. I mean, it just exploded.
Well, first of all, in the last few days we've seen the U.S. government in the market, and they've done everything possible to knock prices down, which is not unusual within a corporatist fascist government or culture. And that's what we have in America. And if people don't believe that, well, they're missing the whole point. And it won't last but for a few days, maybe a week. And the next step, it's going to go higher. And if for no other reason, this giant naked short position being held by J.P. Morgan Chase and HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation, and they're going to have to do something. And what that is, I don't know. But they get three choices the way I see it. They, JPM and HSBC, are short 45 times the amount of silver they have on hand, which means they cannot deliver silver against the contracts. Now, that's called a force majeure in French. It's a term which is used rather widely throughout the world, which means I can't deliver. And so the next question is, what do they do? Well, they can try to settle the debt that they own by perhaps paying 30 or 50 cents on the dollar. And at $50, $60 silver, the two of them are offside about $140 billion. So even $70 billion is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing they can do is totally default, and that means the recipients would lose somewhere about $140 billion. The third way is the U.S. government steps in and pays off the debt in behalf of those two banks, which are major holders of shares in the Federal Reserve System, and Morgan is the biggest holder. I don't know which of the three they're going to do. When is it coming? Probably in the next couple of months. It's not far away. I mean, even if they cover their short positions, when you're short, you bet something's going to go down. When you cover, you buy it back in to take a gain or a loss. And so we just don't know what they're going to do. But one of the indications that I have that it's going to move higher is that there was initial attempt to try to cover the short position, and it didn't work very well. And they probably covered about 20-25% of their position. And in the meantime, since then, they have put on more positions on the short side. And they're right back where they started or close to it. And they find that they're trapped. They can't get out. And these positions really don't belong to them. They belong to the government. Because the positions were taken over from Bear Stearns when it collapsed. And they were really positions which were instituted in behalf of the United States government to manipulate the market. And they continued to play that game, keeping the price of silver down because they didn't want it up, because they didn't want gold up. And if silver goes up, nominally gold usually does as well. And so the fix that they're in is that they simply can't deliver. Now, the question is, will capitulation come at $100 an ounce or $48 an ounce? We just don't know. And there's been tremendous amounts of money made. I held a big silver position for a long time, so that includes myself as well as many others. We had somebody on a program today from Sweden who called in, one of our subscribers, who said, we get everybody in Sweden buying silver. And so this is spread all over the world. They know who they're taking on, and they want to take them under. And so it'll be interesting to see exactly how it works out.
Let me see if I can jump in with a question here. Going back to this past weekend with George Soros. George Soros says the United States can take in a lot more debt. Now, if we're taking in more debt, what is that? I mean, I know the obvious question, but at how much can gold and silver go up as we're taking in more debt?
Well, the debt is translated into inflation, which this year will be 18% by the end of the year. Next year it'll be 25 to 30%. And if they have a QE3, which I'm sure they're going to, in one name or another, the following year, 2013, we're looking at something on the order of 50% inflation, which is hyperinflation. And so if George and his minions want to continue to create that, that's fine. People who are long gold and silver coins, bullion, and shares are going to make a fortune.
Right, and I guess people that own television shops and other electronics and things that people can't eat are those prices are going to drop, while the price of food and metals are going to skyrocket.
That's true. Yeah, there's always a counterbalance to everything, and that's in the package, so to speak. And, the stock market's being held up by the government and the banks that own the government. And they're going to continue to do that as long as they can. I think the Japanese situation is going to negatively affect commerce worldwide, at least for a minimal amount of time, perhaps 6 months, maybe a lot longer. It's hard to say. People are running around saying, well, the Japanese are in terrible straits and it's going to ruin the world economy, and it'll hurt it, but it's not going to ruin it. I think what's going to ruin the world economy is the debt, and the debt is being held all over the world. Every country has been using Keynesianism, and which is nothing more than corporatist, fascist economics, and they're all doing the same mistake. And they know darn right well that what they're doing doesn't work. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just in control. And they're just nothing but a criminal syndicate. And they're accompanied by their rich benefactors, the black nobility of Europe, and all the trappings that go along with the hangers on in the United States and England and throughout Europe.
Well, go ahead. I know I've usurped a lot of the time here recently, so go ahead.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask if Bob, if you thought silver was going to hit 100 before the end of the year.
Could very well. I mean, I don't know. It's a good possibility. It all depends on what kind of a settlement they decide and how it's going to be paid out. I think it's going to ruin whatever it is. It's going to ruin the commodity market because the CFTC has allowed this to go on, and they're a government agency, and they've lost all credibility. They're just working with the government and the big firms to salvage them. And nothing for the public. There's no protection. There's no regulation. They aid and abet the crooks, just like the SEC does in the stock market. Nothing but absolute thieving scumbags. And people should take note of that, because they're never going to help you. They're there to help Wall Street and banking and nothing else. And how do I know? I've been involved with them for over 50 years.
It's a lot of time to learn what's going on, that's for sure.
Well, right, and fortunately I've been able to stay healthy and last as long as I have, be able to relate my feelings about what I experienced during all those years I was involved in business and finance and economics, and as well as social and political efforts throughout the world. There's very, very few people alive who are in that venue who have done what I've done in those countries. I even lived in Africa for 3 years, and it was beautiful when I lived there, and of course they've turned it upside down since.
Right.
But it's been a great education, and you see and you meet people, and you get a feel for people, and historically all over the world, people are really basically the same. They just want to have a happy, fruitful life and a future for their children and grandchildren. And America doesn't offer that anymore, and neither does Europe and England, because they're in the process of being destroyed economically and financially by the Illuminati. And the reason for that is that there's no other way that they can get these people in those countries to accept world government. And that's what this is all about.
Agreed.
All right, now I wanted to jump in here, and we have a couple people in the chat room asking if we have time for calls. Do we have time for a couple calls today, Mr. Chapman?
Of course.
All right, because I know usually you're getting ready for bed by now, so I have to ask.
I know, but it's my fault tonight, and I got to stay up because
all right.
I should have come earlier, but I just get carried away. I'm doing 500 emails a day, 40 hours of programming a week, and I write 2 publications. So you got to forgive me when I forget
Hey, that's
something
all right.
sometimes.